Hello, and welcome back to another episode of 100 to 1 podcast. Here, myself,
yo.
Erik. Who else we got in the building?
The boy Nams, live and direct.
It's your boy Rose, the blue badge, but it's looking like Prince these days, man.
Let's start off with how we've been getting on. Obviously, we missed last week due to unforeseen circumstances. But how have you been getting on the last couple of weeks in terms of the bets? How's everything been running?
You know what? Let me go first, in it now, because I think a week ago I did the fouls. Yeah, I did a sevenfold, and I put 3 players from each game to get 1 foul each, and it was very close, man. Out by 3 players. That was it. Just 3 players messed me up from like.
So you put 3 players and you were out by 3.
Yeah, but I put 3 players in each game to have 1 foul each, 7 games.
So
okay, so 7 games, 3
players, basically.
Yeah. So basically, a sevenfold with 21 players, basically, and each player just to get just 1 foul.
You got 18 of them.
Yeah,
18 returns. Good numbers.
Yeah. So and the players that let me down were kind of surprising, to be honest, like, man. But if I was able to get to the last game, it could have been a decent cash out, like. But yeah, 3 players just let me down from that. So yeah. We'll see what happens this week, but my spirit tells me shots this week, like, man. But yeah, we'll see.
I haven't had the best luck. I mean, obviously, I don't think we've had a proper podcast since I had my 12-fold bet. So I cashed that one out, the one that we had discussed before. Cashed it out before, which is probably just as well. I think they had, at that time, offered me like 516. So I cashed that out. And then I'll put half of that away, and then I made a new bet. And to be honest, I wouldn't have done that if not for the Newcastle game being called up. So that impacted the odds, basically. So I thought, one of my games has been voided, so I want to do a new bet now, basically. So I cashed it out, did a new bet, which didn't win, frankly. What do you call it? One of my closer ones since then, I did quite a big bet, of like a 12-fold game, a 12-fold of a goal and 3 corners in each half. I got 10 out of those 12. Out of the 2 that failed, unfortunately, one of them was fairly early, and then the other one was the last game on the slip. So if I got through that early one and I'd come to the last game, it was like a 25k bet in total, and that fell by one first half corner. Fell short, basically, I think, in Randers and Midtjylland. So if I'd got one more first half corner in that game, that would have brought me to 8 p.m. with 11 out of 11 so far, 11 out of 12, basically, with 1 to go. And to be honest, I don't think I would have taken the risk of going into the final game at that point, which didn't work because Marseille got a man sent off after like 10 minutes or 7 minutes. So that kind of screwed that game. But yeah, so that was a close one for me. But again, I'll just go back to what Ron said one of the earlier pods. It was like the game's talking to me. Like, that's not a bet that I often do, but that was the right bet at the right time. I feel like when I looked at the game. So yeah, that's what I did. But yeah, we'll talk more when we go into this week's bets.
To the betting section. All right, cool. All right, so let's roll on with this week's topics.
Okay, so we're going to introduce the topic, Rex.
Yeah, so how do we introduce? So in terms of this week's topic, so we're going to talk about just the Premier League managers this season and how we think they're doing. I guess we're going to start with your boy, Ten Hag.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's early days, I guess, to be doing like manager reviews because we're 6 games in. So yeah, it's not like a halfway point or anything, but yeah, things are hotting up. Some managers are exceeding, some managers are under delivering on expectations so far. No more famously, I would say, than Ten Hag and Man United. Obviously, Man United is such a club where any given time, 2 negative back-to-back results becomes the number one topic in football pretty much at any time. United lose 2 games in a row at any point over the last 10 years. It goes into overdrive. That being said, at the moment, United look a little bit lost to me. They haven't found their way, and it's unfortunate for me because looking at the team earlier in the season, I feel like that it was moving in the right direction. Even sometimes the results were coming, sometimes the results weren't. But in the last few games, performance-wise, has just nosedived. So, for example, like we lost a game against Brighton in the last minute, and I wasn't concerned about what does this mean for us? Like we should have won that game. We got it, or at least certainly got a point at that game. We had a goal, not ridiculously, but poorly disallowed, that was basically in, and then one of our players touched it on the line, and then it was offside. If he had just left it, we would have got that goal. We did well against Palace, for example, very well against Palace. Again, came out everything but a goal. Came out of a draw from that game, so I wasn't really that concerned. But that being said, when we've faced the better teams this season, be it Liverpool and Spurs, we've looked miles off it. And that's a problem, obviously, for Ten Hag. As far as, bringing it back to the manager conversation, I'm not really sure at the moment. Like, I was a strong advocate of keeping him in the summer. And I still hold that position for now. But that's largely based on what I consider to be an uninspiring managerial market at the moment. So I just think that I'm just not a fan of just constant continuity. I feel like you have to kind of sometimes go through the pain to get to the other side. And if you're like for example, and we would never know, but if you're like 85% through the pain and you start the process again, it's like you keep doing that, you're never going to make it to the other side. And I just think sometimes you need to just, you need to have conviction, and it is only 6 games, but the signs are concerning. It's always more for me, I think, like when you lose games in, what people consider to be the wrong way, that's what brings more concerns. You start worrying about anyone can lose a game of football, especially, in the current Premier League. Against Spurs, they just looked like they were too far away from where they need to be. Losing a game to Spurs is not even in itself the issue. And to be fair, it probably is. Like, we shouldn't be losing games to Spurs because United normally would not lose Spurs at home, even if Spurs were playing better than them at the time. Generally, like, Spurs not going to come to Old Trafford and win. Like, they don't generally. And so for them to come and win it comfortably, it's concerning. There's a lack of, for me, the biggest issue at the moment is we seem to be caught between our personnel and philosophy seem to be kind of conflicting, whatever the philosophy is, people might say. But United, compared to a lot of the other top teams, seem to lack a lot of just physical qualities. Athleticism is lacking, which is not a death knell in football, but they also seem to have a style that relies strongly on physical attributes. So our ethos apparently is we try to play some sort of aggressive, fast transition in football, and we have De Ligt and Martinez in centre half. You've got, you're playing Eriksen, you're playing Ugarte Meno in the center of the midfield. The legs are not there, which again, is not the end of the world. If you wanted to be Brighton, for example, or Barcelona, then you don't necessarily maybe have to have the strongest, fastest players. But we seem to be on some ultra aggressive ethos, and the players are not actually there for that. So you're playing this high line that De Ligt can't get back for. Martinez not suiting his strength, for example. I mean, obviously Martinez is a quality centre half, and when you have Varane next to him, that kind of yin yang is the blueprint that seems to work for us. Obviously, De Ligt is not athletically like Varane, so that's a problem basically. And going forward through the midfield is a mess. None of the players complement each other as far as I'm concerned. And that's a problem. So look, just to summarize it, Ten Hag is definitely under pressure, I would say, but I wouldn't make any changes just yet. I know it's one player, and people, it's one player, but I really think the team missed Luke Shaw massively, and he's not far from being back. I think he's a player that is transformative for United. he owns a whole area of the pitch. Like he's got that, and then he dovetails very well with Martinez on inside him and Rashford in front of him. And I think that will lift the team as well. And his athletic qualities, he's strong, he's fast. Like just at a basic level, we don't have enough players that fit that description, and he's one of them. So I think him coming back would improve things. But yeah, I don't like what I'm seeing at the moment. Nams, any comments?
It's just beautiful to see, man. I love what I'm seeing right now. Now, all jokes aside, I think Ten Hag he just confuses me, bro. I'm just like, I'm not sure what United's plan is when I see them play. Like, man, you just like he's a manager who plays to his players' weaknesses, like not their strengths. Like you try and do this pressing game, but you haven't got mobile players. Like a lot of that, and what the excuse a lot of people used to give Ten Hag is, wait until he gets his players back. Wait until he gets his. All these guys that are playing right now, these are all these signings, bro, man. Garte, De Ligt, Martinez, these are his players, bro. Xerxes, like these are his guys. But I just feel for me, the past few years, I haven't seen any kind of definitive style of play from United. I don't know what they're trying to do. And one thing I will say is, United fans, they're a patient bunch. And if you guys are losing games, it's not really about losing games. It's how you're losing games. It's like you're getting... The Tottenham game was just... Tottenham rocked up to Old Trafford, didn't even really play a DM. Like, let's be real, Bentancur is not really a DM. He's more of an 8, but he just plays there. He was just sitting in the middle. They played with 2 10s and Madison and Kulusevski. So Ange basically said, look, I'm coming to Old Trafford and I'm doing what the hell I want. And I'm playing my football, bro. And right from the first minute, Tottenham just absolutely dominated Man United. Like, don't let that red card fool you. They absolutely bossed the game right from the first minute. Like, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, United just couldn't get near them. But
speaking of, that was a ridiculous red card. And
yeah, for sure.
Many of those in the game at the moment, which is a separate concern, to be honest. Like I raised that. I don't know what's going on with the refereeing anyway. I remember I was having a conversation with you. I'm still thinking about it, and I'm still quite annoyed about it in the Euros. Like, and I still remember that penalty that Denmark shipped.
Yeah.
Some of these decisions, something needs to be done. We can't just. These are deciding games. Yeah. I mean, it's never a penalty. It's a red card. It was obviously not a red card, and now you have a system in place to say, okay, let's review it. Because obviously, what the referee thought he saw, he didn't see clearly.
And the thing is, they didn't review it, though. That's the problem. They could have reviewed it and rescinded it like they have right now, because Bruno's not suspended. So why didn't they do it live in the game?
How can you get a red card overturned the following day when you apparently have a video panel at the time to already review it? So that decision should have been made in real time. So it's like, what's the point in VAR if they haven't overturned it? Then we had to now go above them to get it overturned, So that's a separate thing. I mean, obviously, as we know, Tottenham were dominant in the game, although that doesn't necessarily count for anything as far as
it doesn't.
It's 1-0 at the time, and after going down to 10 men, frankly, we played better with 10 men anyway. Going down to 10 men, put us up against it. So that certainly didn't help, but it still was not a sign of anything progressive. Maybe with 11 men, we might have got out of there with a result, but the problem then just shifts to the next game, basically, like in terms of, okay, what is still the plan? What is the vision? One thing I will say, in United's defense, maybe Ten Hag's defense, is because I used to be part of this school of thought as well. And I think for some reason, narratives, pundits seem to have run with it about this whole style of play thing. I don't actually agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. Like, there's plenty I can show plenty of examples of when it works, basically, of United playing beautiful stuff. And I just think, like, how come nobody actually speaks about this stuff? Like, United just even this season alone, several chances that they've moved the ball from Onana to shot on goal. I can see part of his vision. I can see it. I don't know. For me, the bigger issue is against the ball. It's not with it. When in terms
that's part of the problem, though. You don't want the ball, though. That's part of the problem. You don't really want the ball. United is still kind of. My personal opinion is United is still playing, or they're trying to kind of play counter-attacking football. Where maybe now under Ten Hag, you would have thought maybe it's time we start to impose our style on opposition. Every game that United play. Okay, let's go to Southampton game. Yeah. Southampton, first half an hour. Okay, you man beat Southampton 3-0. Anyone who watched that game in the first half an hour, Southampton, who are bottom of the league, they imposed their style of play against Man United, and Man United were just sitting back. They imposed them.
But then that doesn't mean that that is United's style of play. That means that in a Premier League football match, Southampton were on top. So they're imposing their style of play because obviously they're on top in that period. When they stop being on top, United were not sitting back. So a lot of the chances, and even in that period, because I can bring up many clips from that game, United had a lot of chances. We can talk about counter-attack, but the chances that were built from the back all the way to the front. Some passes from the defenders through to the midfielder, switched it to Ahmad. Ahmad is there. He's released Bruno. We had quite a few chances like that, even in the first half. And, there was similarly against, let's say, Brighton, several chances basically. Like I've seen this season, I can bring so many examples of United, the ball going right from Onana ending up in a shot. Basically, the ball being maneuvered from the back to the front. And obviously, you can say, yes, that's the vision. You brought Onana in for that reason. Martinez is fantastic on the ball. I think, to be fair, a lot of these clips I'm speaking of seem to have worked at their best with Eriksen in the team. When it gets into that phase, he seems to be the one that just has that bit of quality, that composure. Against Palace, it was the same thing. So many examples of moving the ball from the back to the front, ending up in shots. But the problem is with United, is people don't remember these because these shots are never gone in the net as well. They're never gone in the net, and maybe people are not really studying it. They just think, okay, United had a few chances. They had that period, they were dominating. They played well. I don't think they're actually looking at the detail. That the chance. Maybe they remember the shot. They don't remember where the move started from. The move started from the right back. Quite often it happens. My biggest problem with United is against the ball. So they talk about being a transition team, for example, Ten Hag has, but one of his big concerns is when the teams are transitioning against you, how do you stop that? Have you got the pieces in place to stop that? Because Maino, his legs are, he doesn't have the running power. Ugarte doesn't look like he's much more of a runner.
These are all these signings, though, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Of course, I'm not excusing him for that, but I'm saying that is the bigger concern with regards to style of play. And even last season, it was similar in a sense of people saying, okay, they're just too easy to run through. That is for me the bigger concern with him. Perhaps when Lenny Yoro comes into the team, that will Lenny Yoro and Luke Shaw adds a lot of speed and athleticism to the back line. So
for me, and I think my biggest issue is there's nothing for United to fall back onto in terms of kind of structure, or there's just nothing. Like, I feel like what you're talking about right now, it feels like a lot of United's plays is moments. Of course they can play some good football. They're professional footballers. Like, they should be able to kind of pass the ball from the back and get some chances on goal. But all of it is it's just moments. Like, we never see any kind of consistency in terms of how United are probing, pressing, doing things on a consistent basis. Like, it's just fragmented moments is what United.
I don't necessarily agree. I think that I used to think the same as well, but I realized I was probably just getting caught up in the narrative. I don't agree, certainly going forward. I just think that they're not that good a side. So it becomes moments by definition of them just being unable to impose themselves for 90 minutes every week or every game. So they are what their plan is only works in spells. It's not working throughout the game because obviously they haven't got other side of the game is lacking. So the other teams are always going to have their moment and come on. They're going to have periods of being dominated in every game. So it now looks like, they're playing in moments, like, because they can't sustain imposition for 90 minutes. But I think that when they are doing it, I think that there's I've studied them and I've watched a lot of videos back, and I think that there's parts of what they're doing is working. But for me, the biggest issue is they seem to lack that athleticism, and the entire midfield doesn't work for me, and it hasn't worked for a while. That's another conversation. So yeah, look, to bring it wrap up about United, I would say, I mean, look, Ten Hag he's got to get results. I mean, obviously this is Manchester United. Manchester United demands results. He has to get the results, but I still, at this point, things can change very quickly in football, and it's 6 games in, and I'm not writing the obituaries just yet. I think Man United have got good players, far better than their league position suggests. I'm actually reasonably happy with their squad at the moment. Could improve in some areas. we've got more players available this season. Mason Mount is continually injured. He's one that you speak of, for example, about his ability against the ball. And that's a loss, you know, and generally since he's been here, that's not been available to him. But one of his big key strengths is his ability against the ball. Right? You know, he's good with it, but he's one of the players, one in your midfield that make it harder for you to play through. He gets after players. He's a presser. He's a ball winner. Luke Shaw, Lenny Euro, obviously in terms of speed at the centre half position, which is nobody else has this at the moment except him in the squad, and he's not available. But but generally, I think that there's some ideas there, but you don't get forever to get it right. Either they need to start working, or his head's going to be in a chopping block. You know, just like another United, really, I would say in the Premier League at the moment, because you know he's not the only struggling manager, and I think one that's gone under the radar a little bit is West Ham United's manager, Julen Lopetegui.
He didn't go on my radar, man. He didn't go on my radar, bro.
What's their form be like this? What's their form be like this season?
I mean, what have they done? I think they've lost 3 out of 5. Is it?
You know, it's the form, but it's also the expectation as well, because
and it's the manner in which they've been losing these games as well. They've been losing these games quite comfortably. They've been, you know, from what I can recall as well. Like they're losing, you know, and it's who they're losing to. They've been easy to play against, you know. Lopetegui, obviously, West Ham kind of bet the house on him in the summer. They made a bold move by getting rid of David Moyes, who is a proven manager, a seasoned manager, and obviously brought some silverware to West Ham just the season before. So his status was strong, and I guess a lot of teams like to make their move when they're up like that and think, right, now we can take the next step. It's happened with, I say, you know, notably with Southampton when they had, what was his name? Atkins or whatever his name was, maybe got rid of him and got Pochettino in. People were scratching their head. Who's this guy? And you know, Atkins had done well. He'd got them promoted. Or they kept them in the Premier League. Then they changed him, and people were thinking, you know, he was doing well. But obviously, the owners had bigger plans. They had bigger plans, and they brought Pochettino in. It didn't take too long for everyone to see the vision. We all remember comments from the likes of Paul Merson and Graham Souness when Roberto De Zerbi was brought in, you know, at Brighton, and similarly before that when you know, what was his name? Chris Hughton was let go. Chris Hughton was let go after keeping Brighton up under, you know, a lot of it was a relegation fight. He did well, kept them in the Premier League. They sacked him and brought in Graham Potter, and a lot of questions were raised at the time. So I feel like West Ham did a similar move. They didn't really need to get rid of Moyes, but they thought, okay, we've consolidated now. We want to push on and go a step further. And then they went and got Lopetegui. Now, Lopetegui's CV has got some impressive jobs on it. Obviously, he's been the manager of Real Madrid. He's been the manager of Spain, if I'm not mistaken, very briefly.
Wolves,
of course. So he's shown that he can manage in the Premier League, and he had them play some decent football. They spent a lot of money in the summer. On the current viewing, I'm not convinced that they spent it very wisely. I don't think anything that they've spent has provided any improvement to their team so far this season. Somerville, no. I mean, it's early days.
Can't even run.
I want to caveat that by saying obviously it's 6 games, so you can't be writing off new signings. But Somerville, when I've watched him, he's not been able to make a real impact. Todibo has not started a league game yet. Spent what, like 35-40 million on him at centre back. Wan-Bissaka, he's added something, but
I've seen him. He's been poor. Rodriguez in the middle has been poor as well.
Rodriguez has been poor. Full crew can't get in the team. They're still starting with Mikel Antonio up front. They spent, I think, in and around 140-50 million in the summer. We're not seeing anything from it. So
it's very early days though. I think
they got that. It's that old Arsenal dude, bro. That Tim Sturden, bro. He's the guy with the keys, bro. I think I think he was at Arsenal before.
Who?
Tim Sturden or something. One of their
directors or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know, bro.
But he's the guy with the keys, and I don't think he's gonna get another summer, bro. I think those well, one of those guys, rest in peace, is gone. But the other one, bruv, the gold or Sullivan, bruv, that helicopter's coming, bruv, man. It's coming to the training ground soon, bruv. And
for me, like I just feel like West Ham are a prestigious club. They talk about the West Ham way, playing good football, and that's one of the reasons they got rid of Moyes, right? He gave them success, their first European trophy, but the fans still complain.
They had delusions of grandeur, maybe.
But they still complain. He's not playing the West Ham way. I get it. Now, if you're gonna do that and change the managers, I beg you do your due diligence, and really look into these coaches. I've followed Lopetegui for a long time, bro, because I've seen his style of play at these teams, bro, Sevilla, Madrid. I watched him closely at Wolves, bro. If you've done basic research, this guy's style of play is horrible, lad. I don't get it's so bad. Did they watch Wolves? Did they watch Wolves when he had them, bro? Lopetegui was playing some of the worst stuff I've seen in the Premier League for a long time with Wolves, So when I saw him become West Ham coach, I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, that's not the West Ham way. Lopetegui, I'm thinking also, that's not the West Ham way. Do you know who this coach is, bro? This guy.
I feel like when he went into Wolves, didn't he have a spell? He got quite a few results.
I'm talking about his style of play, defensive, nasty football, bro. Wolves play some. I remember me and Ike talk about it, bro. He said, don't go near Wolves, bro, man. They play some horrible stuff, and it was the same. It was the same at Sevilla. Played horrible stuff. The same at Madrid, they didn't like his functional play. So you see all of this, you see a man's CV, bro, but you think this guy, Lopetegui, is going to play better ball than Moyes?
They thought, we're West Ham. We've got a chance to get a Madrid, a so-and-so, so-and-so.
They didn't do the research. Exactly.
So it's
CV. They didn't do research, bro, because Lopetegui, his style of play does not even align with what West Ham principles are, bro. And you're seeing it right now. It's not the West Ham way. As simple as not the West Ham way.
In his defense, which would be a mild defense, again, I would like to shift some of the attention, a lot of the attention to, as I said, to Tim Stuyden, because it seems that none of their signings have improved the team so far. Half of them can't get into the team. So when, maybe you start talking about the tools that he has, I don't know what role he had in these incomings, Lopetegui, but none of these players have spent money in it. As I said, on current view, and they spent it poorly. So that is an issue for West Ham as well. If that continues, this summer will be disastrous. I kept saying through the summer they were chasing John Duran. They want to pay 40 million for him, which is a huge mistake.
Yeah, now they're stuck with Antonio, bro. Antonio should be Antonio
should be right now, bro. Trying to get one of these young guys.
He's back to go.
He should be on the promotion grind, bro. Now he should be dropped down at 34 or something. He should be down in the Championship, trying to lead Reading to the Premier League or something like that. Basically, that's what he should.
Fair play to him though, but fair play to him. But Antonio should be nowhere near as a Premier League striker right now, bro. And he's the one that they're still relying on to lead the line for them, man. But
Fulkrug, bro. Fulkrug is not. He can't get a sniff.
Can't run. He's slow.
Fulkrug and Todibo, bro. Both of them can't get in the team, which is a joke. Because those were their two real big headline signings, and they can't even get into the West Ham team. And they were players that you would have thought, okay, we got from Champions League teams, So yeah, that's an issue. I think more on a positive note, those are two managers that are struggling. Just to wrap that up, I think got to give a shout out to two managers. I want to give a shout out to is Unai Emery at Villa, of course. And Fabian Herzler at Brighton. I'll start with Emery. Emery's been in the job 18 months ago. Firstly, I just want to say I never really liked how he was treated as an Arsenal manager. And a lot of the stick that he got, he was ridiculed, he was undermined, maybe because he was following Arsene Wenger at the time, but he was treated like, who is this clown? I'm like, hang on, no, this is a proper football manager. He was being, there's one thing to be a failed manager, but he was ridiculed like they got a novice into the post to basically succeed the throne of Arsene Wenger. And he left and he built his reputation. He went to, did he come from Paris? So he went to Paris after that.
Yeah.
He went there, and has been going about his business successfully, been continuing doing what he's doing. He's won trophies. There's an online forum that I post on the football forum. And probably about 12 months ago, long before this thing started, I remember I made a thread, which is quite a big thread on there now. It was just called "Where are Aston Villa Going?" Because I saw some signs and I said, this is not I don't think this is a West Ham. These men are trying to win the Premier League. Like I can see their owners that they whatever vision that they've got. I feel like they're not doing what it's going to surprise you guys. What their actual vision is. They're trying to get into the Champions League. They're not actually about this. I'm saying this now, and it seems like, well, yeah, of course we can see they're strong. If you would know the time and the landscape at the time that I made this thread, generally a lot of teams obviously will get these new managers in. They're struggling team, like a West Ham, for example, with Lopetegui. You wouldn't immediately think, right, this is because they're trying to be a title-winning team. You would have thought, right, they want to, be more progressive, establish themselves in the top half. So that was the thinking around the time when Aston Villa got Emery, and I was like, do you know what? I think the owners' ambitions are a little bit bigger than this. Like, I think they're trying to do a bit more than that. They got Emery, then they got Monchi, and they started going after players like that I felt, okay, the vision here is big. And in 18 months, I would imagine that probably behind City and Arsenal, nobody's picked up more points in the Premier League than Emery. And there's probably not that huge amount of behind either. They've taken big scalps. I've seen him do well against City, do well against Arsenal in games. And Emery's got them consistent. They built a great squad. I just want to say, I know we're focused on managers, but shout out to Morgan Rogers. Excellent signing. Picked him up from the Championship. Jaden Philogene picked him up from the Championship. They're doing great business. And yeah, for me, they're one of the most exciting teams in the Premier League at the moment. You've got John Duran, who, I've spoken about in the past. I'm a big fan of him. Picked up for what, I think $20 million, about 16 million, 18 years old or something at the time. Phenomenal talent.
Villa give you a game, bro. They're gonna give you they've signed players in a particular style that Unai likes. He likes hard workers, runners. That team's got a lot of power, bro, man. They got runners everywhere. Like, they can press you. They can press the hell out of you. And that's what they're gonna do against United on Sunday, bro.
Speaking of, obviously we're a betting show. So I had Villa, for example. I got a nice green tick on that one in the week. I said, no, Villa gonna do Bayern Munich, bro.
Yeah, I didn't fancy Bayern either. I didn't fancy them either.
16 to 5. That was I got in on that one. So that was on my midweek slip that came through. So that's just to show that my money's where my mouth is. I believe in what they're doing. And shout out to Emery, because I don't know where they could go anywhere this season. And to be honest, like, I feel like, and it sounds like a stretch, but they could actually, in this format, I don't see why they can't even win the Champions League. And I say that because Real Madrid ain't winning the Champions League.
No, I agree with you, bro.
That's a whole. I thought about making that a topic for this week, because it's something I discussed a little bit over the summer. This Mbappe thing, I had my dad. I said from the beginning, I said, this thing is not going to work. It's not going to work. This Mbappe thing is not going to work.
You know what? Let's keep that as a topic for next week or midweek.
Keep that as a topic. But that team's gone backwards. And basically, if the winner is going to come from the Premier League, for example, then Aston Villa, and any given, if they meet Man City in the final, they can win.
100%.
If they meet Man City in the semis, they can win. So 100%. On that basis, if we're that much stronger, they've just beaten Bayern Munich, which generally, when you have the Premier League block, then you have a few others, then you say, then Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and PSG. Arsenal have just beaten PSG. Villa have just beaten.
It was very light work as well, but
Villa have just beaten Bayern Munich. If the winner is going to come from the Premier League, Villa in the conversation. There's 100%. Only 4 Premier League teams in it, and Villa can beat any of them.
And with Man City without Rodri as well, that's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. So for me, I wouldn't be, again, it seems to be, it's usually too late before people clock what Villa are on. I think that they've got a huge ambition. I'm calling it from now. I'm not saying they're going to, but I'm thinking they're not in the Champions League on it. We're just happy to be.
I hear you, bro.
They're not in it. Like, they're not.
I hear what you're saying, because some teams come to the Champions League, bro, and it's very apologetic.
They're not here for that. They're not here for that. They might go out, bro, but they're here to win. They're trying to win this thing, bro. Like, their owners, since they got these new owners in, bro, they've got a huge ambition. They spent a lot of money, and they spent it brilliantly. And they've recruited a good manager who I know knows these roads. He knows these European roads. He knows the cup. So I don't see why. I think that they're going to be a force, personally. They've beaten Bayern Munich, bro. They put their money where their mouth is, bro. This is one of the tournament favourites.
I hear you, man. Let me tell you something. If Arsenal, let's say we get past these stages in quarterfinals, semi-finals, if Arsenal got Villa, bruv, I'll be very nervous, because I know, and it's because of It's Unai, bruv. Unai knows his European streets, bruv. Man. Arteta, one thing I'll say about Arteta, I love the guy to bits, bruv, but he's shown he don't really know how to navigate these European streets, bruv. Unai does, bruv. So, yeah, that would be a
whether it's Arsenal, whether it's City, I think that none of them want to be facing Villa in the knockout stages.
Really.
So I don't see. I'm not putting a limit on where they can go. And just to wrap up, I'll say a shout out to Fabian Herzler. You might have missed it. I don't think anyone's mentioned it. Maybe the commentators haven't mentioned it. Maybe the commentators haven't mentioned it. But he's 21 years old, basically. He's 21 years old. But credit to him. He's coming to Brighton. I thought, it's a risky appointment. He's taken to the Premier League so far like a duck to water. Brighton have been competitive in every football match. That's the first thing. That's one thing you look for, whether you win, lose, or draw, because you cannot guarantee results in this Premier League at the moment. But every single football match, they've been in it and they've had an interest in that game. They're not, Chelsea, they went 2-0 up or something like that, or 2-1 up or whatever. They lost the game last week, but they were competitive in the game. We've come to every game now and we are competing in it to try and win it. So credit to Fabian Herzler. Let's see how far he'll go as well. And shout out to Slot as well. Just in closing, big job. I think you've got obviously Sir Alex leaving, Jurgen Klopp leaving, Arsene Wenger leaving. Those have been jobs obviously that have been touted as very tough acts to follow. Slot wasn't Liverpool's first choice, probably wasn't their second choice. He's come in, he's gone about his business, and he hasn't just continued with what Klopp was doing. He's quickly established his own ideas as well. And he's doing it fantastically, domestically, in the Premier League. Liverpool unchanged. They won 8 out of their last 9 games. Fantastic job he's doing at the moment.
Cool. Just to wrap it up quickly. Very minimal investment as well.
No investment, really.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up quickly on this section, going back to Lopetegui and Ten Hag, what are we saying on it? We're betting shows. What are we saying before? Are they going to last till Christmas? What's the?
I think both of them. I think both of them will last. I think with Lopetegui, I think obviously the bar is lower, so he doesn't have to be like if he's 15th. I don't know if they're gonna if he's in the bottom 3 by Christmas. I think he's going to be in trouble. But he doesn't have to be where Ten Hag has to be to survive. So I think that it's easier for him to do enough for them to buy himself time. If he's 11th, 12th, I think that West Ham will think, well, let's still give it more of a chance. Whereas if United are in the, around the mid-table, when I say mid-table, I'm talking about 8th, I'm talking about, 11th, 10th or something like that. Then, I think Ten Hag will be in real trouble. I think that, Julian Nagelsmann is a potential one to look out for in that respect. I think United have got a lot of people around that know him very well. We've got our head of recruitment at the moment is a Red Bull guy who brought him to Leipzig. He's not in a club job at the moment. He's a Germany manager. He's had his tournament. Maybe he's somebody that I could see them keeping an eye on. Kieran McKenna is another one. We didn't mention him when we did our managerial review. I don't know if I said it on this show. Maybe I said it privately to Nams in the summer. He was, for me, my number 1 choice if Ten Hag was to go. And when that didn't happen, I thought, well, there's an opportunity for him to show if he can perform at this level. Again, doing a fantastic job so far. The main thing I'll say is competitive in every football match. Went to the Etihad, was competitive. Went 1-0 up there, ended up losing, but his team came and played. They obviously is a huge quality gap, but they're giving teams a game. Played Liverpool, was competitive in the game. Not even necessarily about in the scoreline, but just in the contesting the match, they were in it. So Kieran McKenna is one to watch. I think that if he continues with his trajectory, he will be one of the ones that I'll be looking at for United for sure. Obviously, former United youth coach, assistant coach, knows the club, knows the players, some of the players. So, I think he's one to watch.
My humble opinion is, and I said it right from the start of summer, I've got a running joke with my brother Ike. I said when Ten Hag was he kept his job. They brought in Rennie Hack and Van Nistelrooy. I said to Ike, I said, look, Van Nistelrooy goes home to his wife every day, and he's got a calendar, and he's just striking it off the days until Ten Hag gets sacked. Every time United lose, he goes home to his wife. She greets him with a bottle of wine, and they strike off one more day. It's so, for me, call it conspiracy theory.
The transition, yeah.
Bruv, your biggest op, bruv, is right next to you, bruv. It's bait to me, bruv. It's bait, bruv. As soon as Ten Hag gets let go, Van Nistelrooy will be the interim to the end of the season, and then that will allow United to find a proper manager. That is what I believe is going to happen. For me, it's quite obvious. For me, it's very, very obvious, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's a very possible outcome for sure. Whether he'll be the long-term manager, I don't know. But I think one thing I will say, just in closing on that as well, is Van Nistelrooy is a proper manager, and I've said before, I don't like the way this narrative that he's here to just teach people how to finish. Like, he's a manager.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, he was
a manager. He's not a strikers coach. He's not there. He can organize the team tactically. He was at PSV. Did well, won a league. He's a manager. So he's a manager with pedigree. He's not a strikers coach. Like, he's a proper manager.
Look, man, Van Nistelrooy is there under any disguise that they needed to be, bro, man. And then when that knife goes in Ten Hag's back, I promise you, bro, you'll see back. For me, I'm telling you right now, Van Nistelrooy, he weren't playing fucking checkers, bro. He was playing chess. He said, you know what, I'll come here, yeah, and I'll do the whole, coaching thing. But this is a chance to have a genuine opportunity to actually manage Man United for a little period, bro. Of course, I'm going to take it. If he does well, you never know, but they might keep him, bro. I would have done the same thing as well.
He turned down head coach.
Burnley. He turned down
Burnley. He turned down to be number 2 at United.
So what does that tell you, bro?
Like, say that he was playing a long game.
Come on, what does that tell you, bro? Forget Burnley, bro. Come on, you got to play a long game sometimes.
Game of Thrones, bro, man.
I'm telling you, bro. Every day he goes home, his wife, they dance, they drink some wine, bro, and they cross that calendar, bro. Another day ticked off, bro. It's coming soon, bro.
Another day close to the throne.
I'm telling you, bro. You heard it here first, bro. Van Nistelrooy is next up.
Right, cool. Let's roll on with this week's bets, though.
I'm happy to go first, man. I've got a bounce and
yeah, go ahead, man.
So this week I've just gone back to shots, and I've gone for. I think I've gone for how many games here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've gone for around 9 games basically here, and this is on Paddy Power, and this is for a player to have a shot in each half. So it doesn't need to be on target, just an attempted shot. So for the Crystal Palace Liverpool game, I've gone for Salah and Eze to each have a shot in each half. Brentford Wolves, I've gone just for Brian and Bremo. For Leicester Burnley, I've gone for Antoine Semenyo. Arsenal Southampton, I've gone for Bukayo Saka. Man City Fulham, I've gone for Phil Foden. West Ham Ipswich, I've gone for Jared Bowen. Everton Newcastle, I've gone for Harvey Barnes, and I've gone for Dwight McNeil. And then on Sunday, for Aston Villa Man United, I've gone for Ollie Watkins. And I would have gone for Marcus Rashford, but I don't know if he's going to play. Like, I don't know what Ten Hag.
That's what I kept saying before. Sometimes you got to wait to learn up for these.
I don't know, man. So I've gone for Bruno Fernandes. I know he'll start, so at least I've just gone for him. And then Brighton Tottenham, yeah, he's going to start. Yeah, I've been Brighton Tottenham. I've gone for Welbeck and Solanke, and I put £11 on that, and that gets you 12,000 something, 12,200 something. So that's it, and that's for a player just to have a shot in each half. Doesn't need to be on target, just an attempted shot.
Oh, just an attempted shot. Okay, cool.
Sounds easy, but trust me,
yes.
Something I've been doing on Paddy, not too dissimilar in the last, well, I wouldn't say recent weeks, probably the last week and a half maybe, is I've been doing a treble across 3 games. So I will pick six players effectively, 2 in each game, and I'll pick 3 matches. But obviously I'll raise the stakes, and a player to have a shot on target in each half, and a player to commit a foul in each half. So I double on each match, basically. So, for example, as an example, like when Arsenal played PSG in the week, I had Bukayo Saka to have a shot on target in each half, and Fernandes to commit 1 foul in each half. So I did that 3 times, basically, as a treble. I will be doing that. I haven't put one together for this week, but I will do 1, maybe 2 of those. I like to, where possible, shrink my slips and go high. But you're gambling, betting. So you got to take chances. So I'm going for 3 of those, and the odds are fantastic. Like, generally, I've done them a few times. They come out like 2,000 to 1 or something like that. So you only need to be lucky once. But sticking to my more tried and trusted formula, I've been doing my, sort of my kind of handicap slips. I've kind of with my slip this week, one of my slips, I've kind of reversed it. I've done this, used to do this a few times. I call this slip basically, I call this leave with something, basically, and I pick a team where they say they got to lead a game with something, which means that instead of a -1, for example, it's a +1. So with +1, what that means effectively is they start 1-0 up instead of 1-0 down. So if you start 1-0 up, then 2 out of 3 outcomes work for you. Because if you start 1-0 up and you win the actual football match 1-0, then in handicap terms, you won it 2-0, basically. If you start again 1-0 up and the game ends 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, then you've won it anyway. You start 1-0 up. So basically, the only thing that can stop you from winning that game is losing.
It's losing,
the draw, basically. So teams that I fancy for 2 out of 3, so basically, I'm backing them to leave with something, win or a draw. So basically,
reverse handicap.
Yeah, reverse handicap. So I've looked at some of the games where I see that I've looked at, the form guide, and I think that the odds have been quite generous. So I could have gone for those teams to maybe win the game. Like they are maybe on better form, but maybe due to sort of their, maybe historically, the odds have been quite generous for them to win the game. So I thought, okay, if I can still get good money on them to basically just get a result. So like, just as one example, in the French second division, I've gone for Laval to +1 against Paris, which is 1-1. Laval have won 4 out of the last 5 games. Paris FC are top of the league, doing well. Laval are like 10th, but they've won 4 out of their last 5 games. So basically, you kind of get some sort of result at Paris. So going for things like that, I built the slip that way basically, and I think it comes up to 365. Don't show the odds here, but I put basically £8 and it returns 3,131. I'll just run through it quickly. So Valencia +1 against Leganes in the La Liga. So Valencia away. Both teams are in relatively poor form. Most of them have been losing or drawing most of their games. Not many wins there. So, there's a good chance that Valencia are going to at least get. Basically, Leganes ain't winning. They're not winning any games, so probably draw, cancel each other out. I've gone for Paderborn to win, so I've got a couple of those. Paderborn to win in the German second division against Regensburg. I've gone for Cadiz in the Spanish second division to +1. Cadiz +1 against Huesca. Cadiz have won. Huesca have won 3, lost I think 3 out of their last 5. Cadiz have won 3 out of their last 5. I could easily bet on Cadiz just to beat Huesca, frankly. But I thought, again, I'm trying to be conservative with this bet and just go +1. I've mentioned, obviously, Paris and Laval. I've gone for Grenoble against Rodez in the French division as well. Grenoble +1. Grenoble, similarly, I think won 4 out of the last 5 on a form game. I've gone for Marseille against Angers. Marseille -1, so more traditional. Marseille, 3rd in the league, at home, scoring a lot of goals. Angers, bottom of the league. So, I've gone for them to beat them by more than 1 goal. I've gone then to the Dutch second division. FC Eindhoven against AZ Reserves +1. Again, form guide favors Eindhoven. Likewise, Excelsior against Roda JC. Excelsior +1. Volendam against Vitesse. Volendam +1. Again, Vitesse, maybe because Vitesse have just been relegated from the main division. They've still got a lot of favor with the bookies, but wise, Volendam are above them by about 8 places. They're performing much better than them. Again, so it's like, well, can you get out there with a draw at least? Like that, I'm happy with that, so I'll take that. And then in Turkey, I've got Antalyaspor against Rizespor again. Antalyaspor +1. The form guide favors Antalyaspor as well. And then I've got Westerlo to win in Belgium in the Belgian first division against Beerschot. They should win. It's only 4-9. They're home. They're playing better. Form guide favors them. And I've got both teams to score. Sampdoria against Stabia in the Italian second division, and Karlsruhe against Darmstadt in the German second division. So it's 13-fold, £8. It returns 3,100. But I feel that each selection is fairly conservative. So I'm hopeful to get something.
That's a real exotic slip, though. Real exotic slip.
You gotta keep trying to outsmart, man. These guys, because it's like one thing I always try to do is I'm always trying to minimize. You try and minimize the risk, but still get a decent return. Like otherwise, try and look for the more obvious things. And sometimes, if I think that I'm going to make a leap, then I'll go big, but go with few options. So, like I said, with the treble that I'm doing on Paddy Power, which is, I'm using 3 games to get like 2,000 to 1. I'm not trying to build a long 6-fold. Try and do, because they're both kind of like high stake, higher. Then I'll just try and shrink the slip basically. But you want to try and minimize. If you're overexposed, you go for these like the pipe dream ones that are never going to come in. So you got to try and be smart. But yeah, that's my approach.
I hear it. You know what will be good? Yeah, when we post the episode, post that slip and then maybe post Nam slip as well, so people can see if like on Twitter, people able to see it.
Yeah. That slip, I think that bet that I did in question is all for tonight's fixtures as well.
So it's starting today.
Yeah. Friday.
It'll be good for people to see it anyway, even if, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So none of them, they haven't even gone into this weekend, so I haven't done anything for the weekend. But hopefully, I can get something in my pocket before that starts.
For the weekend games kick off. All right, cool. All right, we'll bring it to an end for this week. Any closing remarks? We know Nam's have to jump off, but
I mean, look, as a United guy, they need to figure it out. That's my closing remark. They've got a tough game away at Villa, I believe they're away. I can't remember. I think they're away.
Sunday.
Yeah, so not looking forward to that. I'm going to be busy. I don't even think I'm going to be watching that game, which is fine by me. I didn't watch the game yesterday, and I don't think I'm going to watch the game on Sunday. I need a break from watching those guys right now.
That's hilarious. But all right, but until next week, innit?
Cool.
Peace.